Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first of our stream sessions on day 2 of Festival Media LatAm. Keep coming in, guys. Move along, move along. There's plenty of seats here. I know you guys like to take it easy, a bit laid back, but we've got some exciting stuff to talk about here today. So our first session is all about video and outstream videos. Outstream video, the new black. So we've all been used to videos. Brands are using videos. The whole of media is using videos. But actually, how do we make those videos right? How do we use outstream? What is outstream? And actually, what's the context for video? So how is video being used in Latin America? How does that compare to the world? Luckily, you don't have to listen to me talk for 35 minutes about this. We have 2 experts in this area. So we have Gian Fulgoni, who is the founder of comScore. So he's going to set a contextual setting, if you like, of video, outstream video, pre-roll video, and have a whole kind of look at what's happening, how the consumers are behaving, what they are consuming. And then we have Eric Tourtel, is the general manager for Ebuzzing and Teads in Latin America. So he's going to give you a great description of what outstream is, how brands are using it, how it's being used, and how it's being consumed. So at the end of that, we hope to have some questions. So I know you've all got notepads, iPhones. Make sure you write at least one question down, because this room is the only one that's been asking questions. So I want to keep that record going, okay? So, without further ado, let's welcome our first speaker onto the stage. Gian, take it away for us.
Thank you, Jeremy. So, good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. And as Jeremy said, we're going to do this in 2 stages. So I'm going to take you through an overview of what's happening with online video to set the scene for Eric, who's going to go into some detail on what these outstream videos are, and I think you're going to be intrigued by what we show you. So here are the 5 lessons that I'm going to summarize for you and give you the detail on. All right? And these are the 5, what I think at least are the 5 most important things that we've learned at comScore as we've looked at the way people are using, viewing video and the way that advertising is working. I'm going to show you the reach that video gets, especially down here in Latin America, or in Latin America. And then I want to compare the engagement levels, or the time spent viewing video, to the time that people are spending watching television, and then shift to the way that video ads are being monetized. And there's some interesting observations there. And then maybe one of the more important of the 5 lessons, the effectiveness of video ads. And I want to compare video to display and show you what we've observed there. And I want to wrap up with the future of video, which basically is cross-platform. So let's take a look at, first of all, the reach that video is generating. So here are the 5 countries in Latin America that we at comScore measure in terms of total monthly video viewers. Okay, Brazil leading by a large margin at 75 million people in a month will watch a video. Mexico then 24 million, Argentina 16, Colombia at 11, and Chile at 5. So some, in absolute terms, some pretty encouraging numbers. If you look at it as a percentage of the total web population, you'll see how encouraging these numbers are. In Latin America, the penetration or the reach of video viewing compares very favorably to the worldwide average. In fact, Brazil, Argentina, and Colombia, as you can see on this slide, actually are higher than the worldwide average, with Chile and Mexico being slightly behind. But clearly, the reach of the web with video is high. And in a month, if you take those 5 countries and put them together in a total, here are the numbers. 131 million people will watch video in a month. They will view a total of 25 billion videos for a total time or engagement of 1.6 billion. And that translates to 148 videos per viewer, or 10 hours per viewer per month. And these numbers are increasing at a really rapid clip. Now, here's the first surprise as to what's happening. If you look at the total videos that are viewed, if I had shown you this a couple of years ago, you'd have had Google with YouTube dominating by a large margin, accounting for maybe 50 to 60% of all the video views. Now, Google sites in total are still the leader, as you can see here across the 5 countries. But look at who's number 2. In Brazil, it's Facebook. In Mexico, it's Facebook. In Colombia, it's Facebook. You got Vivo being number 2 in Argentina and number 2 in Chile. So Facebook has kind of emerged out of nowhere as they've been running their autoplay videos, which actually, as Eric will mention, is an example of an outstream video. Now, I want to switch to the US for a second, because look at this, and this is just staggering when I saw it. This is the number of videos viewed on Facebook versus YouTube. And while, as I was saying, while YouTube was well ahead of Facebook, in the month of August, in the US, viewed off of a desktop, the total number of videos viewed on Facebook was actually higher than YouTube. Unprecedented. We've never seen that before. And it's high by about 1 billion videos. So a big dramatic change. The videos that are running on Facebook, as you probably know, are autoplay without sound. But as Eric will cover off, as an example of these outstream videos, they're getting really high reach and they're getting really, really high engagement. And I think it is clearly a major breakthrough in the way that video is being delivered. Now, I want to switch to engagement or time spent, and I want to show you the reality and the opportunity, if you will. So if you look at the US, the total time spent watching television is on the left in millions of hours. So I think it's 48 billion hours in total. And on the right is video. So video is still only 4%, equivalent to 4% of all the time spent watching television, right? So if you were to talk about delivering reach and frequency today, television is still king. There's no question about it. But you can get some nice reach with video, and the engagement is going to rise, unquestionably, as the number of videos that are viewed increases. So tremendous upside for video. Let's switch to monetization. And what we've found here is that it varies by the type of video. And I want to distinguish the long-form content from the short-form content. So long-form content would be what's called an originally scripted television content or a TV show that's running online versus the short-form 6-7 minute video. Now, we did this study for the networks in the US back about 5 years ago. They wanted to know, was the audience that was watching their shows online, was it an incremental audience, or were they watching it to avoid the ads, or what was the driver of it? They knew that the demos were slightly younger. But what we found when we asked people why they were watching these shows online, it all comes back to their own personal schedule and convenience. And you can see, if you look at the top number, 70% or so people said, I watched the show online because I missed an episode on TV. Another 60% or so said it was more convenient for me to watch it online. 25% said I wanted to see past episodes. Only 38% said, well, I'm watching that show because it doesn't have ads. And that gave the content owners, the long-form content owners, the confidence that they could monetize those shows with advertising, and they've done a pretty good job of it. All right? So here is what's called the ad load. The ad load is what percentage of the time spent watching content, TV or video, is occupied by ads. So if you're in the US, just about a quarter of all the time you spend watching television is taken up by ads. That's the number on the left. The premium online video, which is the long-form video, is being monetized at a really attractive rate of 15%. It's growing rapidly. It's approaching television ad loads. In fact, if you were to look at the very popular type of content, for example, the NCAA basketball tournament, those ad loads on premium video would be higher than television. If you go to the short-form content, that's where the monetization is still low. It's only running at about 5% of all of the time spent watching those short-form videos is ads. And there's still the concern in the minds of a lot of advertisers about the brand safety, what's on those short-form videos, and that limits the ad load. I'm sure it will continue rising, but I doubt that it will ever reach the levels that we're seeing on the long-form content or on television. Another really good point about online video is that the CPMs, the price that's being paid, the prices are really high and often higher than the CPMs that television gets. So I've broken out a couple of numbers here that come from Credit Suisse via eMarketer that I think you'll find interesting. So premium would be the long-form video content. They can get upwards of $30 per 1,000 views. All right? On the orange bar that's at 1960 is networks, video networks. They are only slightly below the CPM that the top-rated show on television, which is Big Bang Theory, gets at about $20. So you can see how attractive the monetization is from the perspective of the content owners or the publishers. Another really positive for video. All right, switch to effectiveness is the fourth finding. More effective than display. All right, so first slide here, on the left is the impact that video ads have had on site visitation, or the lift in actual percentage of people visiting the brand site that's advertised over time, and on the right is the corresponding numbers for display. I've showed it for a selection of campaigns that we evaluated at comScore, but this is not unusual. This is what we typically see, all right? And the points to note are that you get a higher lift with video than with display. That might not be surprising, but here's confirmation of it. The other thing that we've discovered is that what's called the half-life of an ad, or how long the impact of the ad lasts, the impact of a video ad is about 2 to 3 times longer than the impact of a display ad. All right? So again, very positive. Higher lift, higher retention of impact. And look at this. If you look at again, the point lift in site visitation after advertising exposure, on the left is video, on the right is display. And what you'll see is that the impact for video occurs very quickly with relatively few exposures. You've really got to deliver exposures, a lot of them, to get that impact with display. And you can see the way that the response is still climbing even after 10 or more exposures. And we're now actually finding at comScore that you can run upwards of 15 to 20 exposures and still see that response growing. And the drivers of that seems to be there's so much clutter that it's difficult for an ad to get the attention of the viewer. There's also the viewability issue. Was the ad ever seen? And those two factors contribute to requiring a lot of impressions to be delivered with display to get the same effect that you can get with a lot fewer impressions if you're running video. So again, just a check mark, a very nice one for video. And look at this. Now we're looking at branding metrics as opposed to action metrics. All right, so the branding metrics could be ad recall, likability, purchase intent. Here we're looking at ad recall, and I just wanted to index it one to the other. This is basically saying that you need 3 times the number of impressions with a display campaign to get the same lift in ad recall that you can get with a video campaign. Basically 3 times more effective video is than display. I want to wrap up with the future, and I want to talk a little bit about cross-platform. And cross-platform could mean 2 things, I think, when you consider it. There's what I call digital cross-platform, which is the desktop, the phone, and the tablet. And then you've got an additional dimension you could throw on, because if you want to include television with video, then you've got 4 platforms, if you will. I want to show you some of the things we've learned here, and very, very interesting. First of all, no surprise, the use of these mobile devices to watch video is growing rapidly. In just 1 year in the US, 27% more people are watching videos with a phone, 32% more people are watching videos with a tablet, and the numbers on the left are the thousands of people doing that. So you've got 70 million people will watch video on a phone in a month. You've got somewhere around 40 million people doing that with a tablet. And the ownership levels are still growing. You've still got smartphone owners growing at about a 20% clip in the US, tablet owners growing at about 30%. So it's all upside still for video on these other devices. And look at this. If you look at premium content, the long-form content that's run on the TV websites, NBC.com or Hulu, etc., you've got 31% of the time spent watching those TV shows off of those sites is being done off of mobile devices. Not something that older people like me can easily get accustomed to, that small screen, but I think the young kids today and millennials have no problem doing it. So clearly video viewing on multiple devices is the future. I want to show you finally this example here. So we did this study. It's called the $1 Billion Research Lab. I only wish that we had been paid $1 billion to do it. Unfortunately, that was not the case, but it's, I think, the value that this represents to a content owner like NBC. In the 17-day period of the London Olympics, there was so much content produced, so much content consumed, that the idea was, if we can measure that viewership and that consumption of content across multiple devices, there's so much happening in such a short period of time, we might be able to open a window into the future of what cross-platform is. Okay? And so I want to show you one of the most important findings out of this study, and I'm going to do it with a slide that's going to build for you. And I'm going to show you the total amount of time spent per day watching Olympic content or reading Olympic content according to how many different devices somebody has. So I'm going to start from the left and build it and look at the total time spent and the total time spent on each device. So if you were only watching on a television, you were about 4.5 hours or so of time spent. Give that person a computer, it jumps by an hour with no degradation in time spent on television. Just total consumption goes up. Give that person a phone, jumps another hour and some, up to 6, almost 7 hours. And then if you give the person everything, every device in which you can consume this stuff, look at that. You got 8 hours, 8.5 hours. No evidence at all of cannibalization of television time. And basically the conclusion is it's not a zero-sum game. The pie is getting bigger. The more devices, the more time spent. Great news for the publishers, great news for the advertisers, and I think one of the most important findings that we've come up with. I want to wrap it up with this slide. And basically my point here is this will be running in the US from comScore at the end of this year, but it's the future of video measurement is across all platforms and across all forms of delivery. So the system we're building is going to capture all of linear TV off of set-top boxes, somewhere around 5 million of them. It's going to capture all of digital video from our panel as well as the census tags are attached to the video. And then another important part of TV consumption is over the top. Companies like Netflix that are delivering through so-called over-the-top. All of that represents the future of measurement for video, multi-platform, and there is no way that the industry is going to be able to do this without basically throwing away the measurement systems of the past and coming up with new ones, because you need millions and millions of observations to be able to do this. So, 5 lessons learned. Online video viewing, it does have high overall reach, there's no question. When it comes to engagement, television is still king by a large margin, so it has an advantage in delivering reach and frequency. But online video is being, I think, used very effectively to reach the demo segments that can be difficult to reach with television, younger millennials, etc. Okay, the third one, monetization. It varies by the type of video that we're talking about. The short form videos have low ad loads, as you saw, but you go to long form and that ad load is approaching television now, and the long-form video CPMs are really, really attractive, often exceeding those of TV. Video advertising, significantly more effective than display, requires fewer exposures to achieve the same lift, and those video ads are also retaining their impact longer. They have a half-life that's 2 to 3 times longer than display. And then finally, future is cross-platform. Not a zero-sum game. Everything is going up in terms of consumption and as more devices are used. And the pressure is going to be on, I think, the research companies like comScore to provide the cross-platform measurement systems we need in the future, because they're not going to bear any resemblance to what was available in the past. That's it. Thank you. If you want a copy of the presentation, here is an email address to use. So I hope I've set the scene for Eric, who is now going to tell you in more detail what these outstream videos are. Thank you
very much, Gian. Let's get Eric. Up we go.
Thank you. So thank you very much, Gian, for the great deck. Actually, if I may, I think the future is multi-tablet. It's outstream. Actually, I would love next year to be again with you. And however, I think here a bunch of people know Ebuzzing. I don't know that if that means Teads. And I really hope and I really think that next year, in the ranking of the largest video provider, Teads will be there. Not because we do it well or no, but because it's outstream, no? And it's what we're going to talk about. So we're going to go through engagement, viewability, fraud, results, etc. And we have 25 minutes, so let's get started. If it works. It does. So a long time ago, before I was born, which is a lot. We invented TV, which was amazing because it was finally associating motion and sound, while before it was just flat images on print or maybe only the sound on radio. And everybody loved it and would spend a lot of time watching barely anything, absolutely anything, because it was all new. But we all evolved, no? And we now spend more time online, not on video necessarily, but online. So back in 2010, people would spend 50% of their time exposed to a media in front of the TV. Right now, it's down to 36%. At the same time, back in 2010, people would spend 35% in front of a computer. And now it's 49%. So we have basically two curves like that. Not to mention the multiple devices we're exposed to. So what have we done? We tried to replicate what we did on TV, which was basically obliging a viewer to watch an ad to have access to a content. It's not new. We've always done that. We started internet measuring it only on performance without taking care of the branding or considering the branding potential. We call it impression, like in print. A banner is like a Faldon. We just did the same. And for video, we did exactly the same. We did the pre-roll, which I like to call the pop-up of video. So that's what we have right now. The problem is, as Gian said, there's not that much. People don't spend that much time watching videos because there's not that much content in video. Why? Because it's extremely expensive to produce video, unless you're super smart and you have people like us creating it for you guys, which is amazing. But the thing is, people that usually had a lot of power and people that actually create quality content, not what I put up on YouTube, which are my holidays in Punta Cana and stuff, really great, but maybe not where you want to have your ads, trust me. So the thing is, historical content providers were facing a big problem. There's all the money, or a lot of money, switching to video because advertisers tend to follow eyeballs. But at the same time, they don't have video. So it's a big issue. When you take really huge brands like Le Monde in France, they have not even 1%. They have 0.5% of video content. Clarin, 2%. Universal, 2%, etc., etc. If you take any of those sites, they will have loads of players pitching for the same inventory. If you have 5, 6, 7 pre-roll sellers competing for 1% of the inventory, what you do? Well, you slack. You put more and more pre-roll, post-roll, mid-roll, whatever. You can see some freaky stuff with 30-second pre-roll, 10-second content, and 30-second post-roll, usually the same. So you hate the advertiser and the publisher, which is not great. So they created something that we love to call PTSD, and I have a little video that can, if you can put it, that would be great.
Please, 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 just kill me right now. Just put me out of my misery.
What happened to him?
PTSD, pre-roll traumatic stress disorder. He just wanted to watch some videos, but all those pre-roll ads got to him.
Just show it! Show it to me! 16, 15. Look, you idiots, you keep showing me the exact same ad over and over again, and now he's the least interesting man in the world. Okay, fine. Cuba imports their cigars from him. You know what? Why don't you import the video I want into my eyeballs? Thank you. No! 14, 13, 12. No, I'm not having feminine hygiene problems. My hygiene problems are extremely manly. Just show it. Just give it to me. 11, 10. 30-second pre-roll for a 12-second video. Do you not understand math? That's like having to watch a 12-hour commercial before a 90-minute movie. Or if it was a Lord of the Rings marathon, you'd have to watch a 6-month commercial. I would die waiting for Frodo. I just show it! Show it! Show it! What did I ever do to you? What did I do to you to deserve this? You monster. Suck it. Why can't I skip this? I'm a hostage. Release me from Guantanamo! I am not a terrorist!
Yeah, you'd think they'd figure out a better way than random pre-roll ads that just annoy the viewer.
That's why we're using Ebuzzing for our videos. They distribute the videos in an environment where people actually want to watch it, like in the middle of an article or on a blog on the same subject. And you know it's relevant because they're already on the topic.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How to do the cowboy boogie?
Hitch and down and twirl and twirl. Twirl and twirl. Left and left. Right. 1.
Okay.
Opposite. Knee. Knee. Now twirl.
Okay. I mean, you all have felt like that once, I'm sure. I do a lot. Anyway, we did actually, it's not only that what we feel, we did a research a few weeks ago with My Metrics and The Guardian, and we asked the people, do you skip pre-rolls? And 93%, 94% actually of them said always or often. I love it. Anyway, but that's what we had, no? That's what we had in the market, and everybody was happy, or is happy. Problem is, same as stacked advertising, there's a lot of demand, not too much supply, so you have to put more stuff. And then with human, it's the same. You don't have money, you can either look for another job or work harder, or you can go and steal the purse of an old lady in the street. And that has been happening a lot, especially in video, since there's not too much volume. Then we've been talking about viewability. It's a super, super hot topic. There's lots of numbers. I'm going to just show you, for those that are not very, very familiar with the topic, that would be a good definition of viewability.
If your message isn't being seen, you're wasting your time and money. Learn how the new viewability standards benefit you.
Okay, so that's kind of an explanation. Those are the facts, actually, and there's plenty of other numbers, which are scary, to be honest. My 6-year-old daughter, she's going to be watching some videos, and as soon as the pre-roll starts, she will change the thumbnail or scroll down, do something, and by magic, after 20 seconds, whoop, come back. I don't know. That's okay. I'm missing some slides here. But, yeah. Okay, so that's kind of weird. The thing is, we've been working together, video providers, publishers, agencies, to work together and to find a way to limit that. So plenty of algorithms to detect fraud and who's cheating. Some measurements, for example, OpenVV, which is a protocol we actually co-founded, that will allow people that use it to report the exact same way. And then the IAB just started to create a norm of what is viewable, what is not. Now it's back. Yeah. So that's great. It's a great start, I'd say. Okay, so I'm going to show you what a viewable view is for the IAB. Ready? That's it. So again, it's a great start, and it's great that we've done that, but it's just a start, okay? But no worries. There's outstream for that, okay? So as Gian says, people don't spend too much time on video. They spend much more time using news sites, blogs, social networks, etc., etc. Okay? That means that if you use outstream, which literally means delivering video outside the stream, that means outside the pre-roll, well, you have much more opportunity to reach your audience. We can get roughly everything, and the targeting potential is unlimited. The only limit is actually the roof or the sky. I told you before, at Universal, they have 2% of video, okay? Without stream, they have 98% of video. So that makes of Universal actually the largest video provider in Mexico when they start selling in read. You can literally put one video on every impression. That changes everything. There's also another thing which we call viewable by design. InRead, which is a format we invented and has plenty of copycats now, which is great. It's great to be copied. That means you're doing well. Is an ad key that will only start when it's viewable and will freeze if it's not on the screen, if it's not viewable, okay? So that means if you buy a completed view, it's a real completed view. And that is a format which is literally changing the market right now. And that's the format that will have us in Giant slides next year. So as I said, no viewability issue because you're always on the page and it will not work if you're not viewable. The results are amazing compared to which we tried the best formats or best class formats are our other formats, okay? But mainly InRead and Inboard are the two huge outstream formats. And as you can see, they outperform completely pre-roll in terms of notoriety. If you go a bit further, not only on the branding potential, but also on what maybe really matters, which is purchase intent, likability of a brand, etc., etc. I mean, that's exponential. And it's logical. If you don't force someone to see something, to do something, they're usually happier and they like you better. The other thing is those formats are 2.5 bigger, 2.5 times bigger than a pre-roll, and bigger is better. Everybody knows that. So that's pretty much it for me. I said I would do 25. I did it. You see?
That's fantastic, Eric. Fantastic. I'm very, very impressed. That was good. I was even going to give you an extra 5 minutes almost there, which is wonderful news because we now have time for Q&A. So where's Gian? Let's come back up. Have a seat, guys. So come on, room 2. You haven't let me down all week so far, the last 2 days. So do you have any questions for these guys? We do. First of all, I love this room. How are you? Anyone in particular who'd like to direct it at, or both of them?
Yeah, about the first presentation. So you talked about how Facebook has become the #2 after YouTube in terms of video streams or video plays, right? But you also talked about the autoplay functionality. So how do you factor in that? Because not necessarily a video play is a video view.
Yeah, so on Facebook, that's the total views. They are beginning to monetize it with advertising, but I think predominantly today it's still non-ad videos. They are autoplay with no sound, and our definition, I believe, is that the video has to play for, I'm not 100% sure of the definition here, but it's somewhere around 12 seconds. If it's viewed for that long and it's in view, then it's defined as a view.
Okay. Any more questions out there for these guys? Oh yeah, this is great. I think we've broken the record.
Hello. Also about the first presentation, what's your opinion about what is expanding the growth of Facebook, and how is it that they're increasing in speed of the use of video? What do you see happening there? And also, how do you see them in outside of the US, in Latin America? What's the expectation? That's for both of you. What's your expectation of video and the use of social media?
So, you can see from the data I showed the U.S. data in a trend form, and it's increased dramatically. I am pretty sure that Facebook has not yet monetize those videos with ads. Or maybe they're going to run it as outstream video ads. You know, I'm not sure, but I would think that's all upside for them. The other thing to remember on what I showed was that was desktop viewing. And if you look at the total time spent on Facebook today, somewhere around 65% of it is on mobile. And in fact, somewhere around 60% of all ad revenue is mobile ad revenue. So I think the future for them is going to be that they will monetize, they'll continue growing their ad business with the addition of video ads run both on desktop and on mobile devices. So I think that that's you know, really, really positive for them. I'm sorry, what was the second question you asked?
The second question was basically, how do you see it outside of Latin America?
Well, you know, so in the 5 countries that I showed, where I was showing basically Google's share of videos on Facebook, Google was still in the lead, but I would expect if we were looking at those data in 6 months, that Facebook in many of those countries would be delivering more video views than YouTube.
Any more questions from the audience? I have one because I want to get Eric involved as well in some of these questions. I have a question in terms of brands and agencies and actually clients utilizing Outstream. Yeah. What's it been like as a receptive for those? Are they kind of really keen? Do you have to really kind of push the message home?
No, not really. I mean, it's so simple. I mean, it's a bigger ad that doesn't bother, that we will charge only if it's viewed till the end, and that would freeze if it's not on the screen. I mean, it's kind of a non-brainer. So no, actually, we had I started to sell. I mean, we've been selling Outstream for a while, but especially InRead, which is literally changing the market. We started to sell it 3 months ago in Latin America, and it's 40% of my business right now. I'm expecting it to be 80% by the end of the year. Why? Because that's where the eyeballs are, and it's just, I mean, there's finally another option. There's an alternative to YouTube and now Facebook to have a lot of reach, but within professional content, and that's what changes everything. So no, really, it's pretty straightforward. Actually, we got. I mean, most of our clients have been starting to using it, so perfect.
One of the things I just want to add on the Outstreams, which I think is really interesting, is I think initially when Outstream began, the user had to initiate the play,
completely.
Right? And you would get high engagement, but the reach was limited, so you couldn't, you know, it really wasn't scalable. Exactly. But you've gone to autoplay now, right?
Exactly.
And that, I think, has changed the game on these Outstream ads, because now you're going to get way more reach than if the user had to initiate it.
It's the same as, I mean, if you want to compete with TV or other, I mean, people don't click to say, oh, I would like to see an ad on TV. So it's exactly the same, and you're completely right. The fact that it's autoplay means you get much more volume, especially if you work with large publishers. And then to compensate that, what we did is to have so much volume, and also because we deliver in news sites. So basically, if you put an ad just in the middle of the page, it will take roughly 30 seconds to read the whole thing. So that means that they will really be exposed, and normally we do it contextually, so they will normally want us to watch it. So what we did to compensate the fact it was autoplay is to sell it only on a cost per completed view basis and freezing the video if it's not on the screen, and that's what makes the whole difference. But it's an excellent point. It's the only way to have a lot of reach, actually.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. And that, unfortunately, guys, is the end of the clock. I can see the bells ringing on the clock. So let's have a round of applause for Eric and Gian.